Hey guys, welcome back to Making Moves. I am here with Taryn.
Hi.
AKA Taryn.
Yes, hello everybody. This is so weird because my podcast records here and you're sitting where I usually sit.
Well, why the fork is your laptop here? I just don't understand. Like, are you going to ask me a question? Do you have PowerPoint? Do you have PowerPoint?
I might. Okay. I don't know. Like, this felt so routine. So I just came in, set my laptop up because that's what I do.
Well, I like to fork up your routine.
Well, no, honestly, that is a very valid statement. TK is the biggest little sister instigator vibes, but not just little sister who grew up with brothers, because that's different.
Yeah, Alicia has a different little sister energy than I do.
Yeah. You're I'm trying to ruin your day so that my day can be funnier, whereas Alicia's I just want to be a brat. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's different.
I try and pick on people to see how they react.
Yeah.
But that's my way of showing affection.
Oh, I know. That just means you love me.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks. I'll take it.
So ask me a question.
So in the summer of 2012, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know. Should I ask you something?
Sure. Spice it up.
I mean, this is technically, we're in intro vibes, right? So
yeah.
So what is your first?
I should be asking you a question.
You told me.
Okay. I'll ask you a question. You're gonna ask me a question later. So think about it.
Yeah, I have one already.
Okay. Do you want me to do it now then?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, answer? We're starting off strong. I was gonna ask you what your first memory of me is.
Oh, this is great.
Do you have a specific one? Oh my God!
Someone literally did. Alex Marlowe tell you to ask me that? Because she asked that in the questionnaire.
No.
Yes, she did.
I just was thinking intro.
No, Alex Marlowe literally sent that as a question.
Shut up.
Deadass. Shout out Alex.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Alex. We love Alex. Okay. First memory of you is Coachella. That's when I met everyone. And I remember thinking about the entire group, how welcoming and just cool and chill and generous everyone was. But I remember specifically with you that you were fun to dance with. You didn't care to be a fool. I feel like the girls, they would probably say this, that were still in their influencer trying, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And you didn't give a fork.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cool. And you also were a little protective over me and you didn't even know me. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
And just very I felt like you were very real. You stood up for people when you thought it was wrong. And no matter who anyone was. And I just immediately remember being wow, first of all, thank God she's here. Second of all, she's so fun. And I don't know, I feel I just there was no hesitation with you.
Yeah.
With influencers, it's hard to get in there sometimes. And you were just open arms. I felt we instantly connected. What about you?
Yeah, I think the same thing. It's so funny though for me on my side.
Yeah.
Because I was with my friend group, right? So I had no reason to feel hesitant or shy or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas you were just scratching the surface of getting to know these people.
I literally knew no one. I hardly knew Alicia. At all. I had maybe seen her 3 times before that. Isn't that crazy?
And so the only reference I had of you is Ashley had said, hey, there's this girl TK coming. She's super cool. I really think her and Alicia could hit it off as friends.
Really?
I don't know. Have I never told you that?
No.
Yeah, she was I think TK would be good for her.
But I had never met.
She must,
Ashley.
but I think you guys had mutual people you knew, right?
Yeah, but I had never met Ashley. But maybe I could see Alicia going back from our hangouts and talking about it. And then Ashley being oh, this girl might be good for her.
It's something. She had some
interesting factoid.
Yeah. So then I was very much aware that you knew no one. And you were kind of quiet and shy, which is so funny now because I think that's the only time in my life that I've known you that you were quiet and shy.
Yeah, probably.
You just went uphill from there. You were surprise. Here I am.
Yeah.
You guys thought I was quiet. But yeah, so I remember that. I remember you were really nice, really sweet, really easygoing with just going along with whatever people were doing. And then I do remember getting protective of you because there's a little mean girl action.
Yeah. Basically.
Yeah.
But it was such a fun trip. And I feel like, when was the next time I saw you after that?
Honestly, I don't really remember. It would have to be because I didn't live with them yet.
Yeah.
And so when you would start coming and filming, I would just hear about it. But I don't think our paths crossed till you kind of started hanging out more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make sense. I feel like we always clicked, though.
Yeah, I only have a memory of meeting you, and then you just were my friend. Like, I don't have
same.
In between. It's weird.
I don't remember the second time I like hung out with you, but I do remember feeling like if I was at anything, I'd be like, okay, thank God Taryn's here, because like if something goes wrong, I could go and hang out with her.
Yeah.
Or like you were very a comfort zone for me, which is really nice because I hardly knew you either.
Yeah.
So I feel like we both have a good. The good thing about us is we'll make people feel welcome and warm, like right from the start.
Fully.
Which is, maybe that's a Cancer thing.
Maybe it is. I think too.
We're both Cancers, by the way.
Yeah, we are. We're both eldest siblings. I know that there's a tie to that.
Yeah, and Ashley's kind of like that too.
Yeah. Did you know they say like eldest siblings are best matched with younger siblings?
Or best matched with younger or like middle.
Yeah.
But not the other
like
oldest.
dating relationships too, because like one jumps into caretaker and the other one like keeps them light and like feel needed. Yeah.
I've heard that.
It's interesting.
I am curious though, like how well it would be if I were to date another older eldest sibling.
Yeah, I feel like it just have to do with your love languages and like how you take care of people, because you are like a swooper, like you swoop in and are like, oh, what do you need? Like, I got you kind of thing. Whereas I'm a little bit more of like that mothering, like very like, let me attend to your emotions, whatever. So we have totally different styles, but we are the ones that are like, oh, something's wrong. Like, okay, well, I'll fix it. You know what I mean? Okay. So I think if you had different like ways of caring.
What do you mean by that? Unpack the swooper versus mother thing. I'm confused. Like I get it, but I'm confused.
So the way that I care for people, I'm very much like, oh my gosh, I see someone sad and I want to go in and be like, hug them and like talk about their feelings and like.
No, you like get in there. And
I know.
I'm like, no.
She said, when we live together during
which is crazy.
lockdown.
I never in a million years would have thought I would live with you.
I know. And there was a couple of times where I would like pick up on things and I'd be like, I just have that where I'm like, TK, what's wrong? And you'd just be like, seriously? Like, I know. How do you know? Leave me alone.
Don't ask me what's wrong right now.
Yeah. But I think that like I have a very like, I'm more emo and about emotions and that kind of thing. Whereas I know I could come to you if I needed like emotional support, but also like I feel like you're the one who would swoop in and be like, "Oh, you're sad? All right, let's go. Like we're going out. What do you need?"
I am.
Where I'm
totally
like, let's talk about it in process. Like it's just different ways
I'm
of
good
showing.
at if you get breaking up with and you need to be distracted. Like I'm your girl.
Oh yeah.
If you want to actually talk about it and go into like the deep depths of the relationship and what went wrong, Taryn's your girl.
Yeah.
My question for you is, you're so good at when it's the right time, someone's on the brink of tears, shit's hitting the fan, and you come up and you're like, are you okay? Knowing damn well I'm not okay. And I think being self-aware and knowing that someone's not okay and going up and asking is one thing that you're really good at. But two, I think the hardest thing about what you do is you actually go, most of the time I know someone's not okay and I won't ask because I don't want to deal with that. Yeah. I'm too scared to ask because they're going to break down. Why do you feel so comfortable going up to like, do you feel like that's just like me, Alicia, and Ashley thing? Or do you feel comfortable going up to anyone?
No, I've gone up to strangers in the grocery store.
Yeah,
before.
No, it's crazy.
I think that's like a two-part answer. One is I think when I became so comfortable with like my emotional state and being open about that.
I mean, it says so much about your emotional state.
And that wasn't always like that took me time to develop. But another thing is like I can't function when someone's feeling sad in a room. Like, so it's almost like a selfish thing too, because I'm like so distracted by like something's going on and I can't have fun or like I have to know if they're okay. So I don't know. It's just like a really weird thing that kind of is like always been in the background. Like people, even in high school, people would be like, I know I don't know you, but like, can I talk to you? And I just be like, okay, like what's going on? You know, I don't know. It's just always kind of been a thing.
I feel like you're one of the very few people I've ever met where if I go to you with a situation, whether it's a boy, whether it's like family issues or whatever, you completely like remove yourself from the situation. You like are so there empathizing as that person. Like it's crazy how like, I don't know. I feel like so many times it's like, well, I would do this. And you're like, you see yourself as the person who's going through whatever it is. And like, I don't know, you're really good at giving advice that way. I don't think I can do that like you can.
But I think that's what's so cool is because I don't think everybody needs me. You know what I mean? Like people, like even if you go to therapists, right? Like I've gone to different therapists that I just didn't vibe with because I didn't like the way that they empathize with me. So it's cool because I think like we're all needed in those different situations, you know? And I think I have always been that. Like I'm definitely like an empath. Like I walk into a room and I feel everyone's emotions right away.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I went into such a depression during COVID because everyone was anxious 24/7. So not only am I feeling my anxiety, I'm feeling everyone's, right? So it's just always been like something that's there. And I think I've like honed in on it as I got older. But
absolutely. I think it's there's been so many times too where like in COVID and outside of COVID and before COVID where I've like looked at you and we've been like, are they off?
Yeah.
Or we're like, was that weird? Or like even just any random like public situation with like any type of situation, we'll like look at each other and be like,
what's happening?
Like, did you feel that? Because that was weird. Even the girls, like Alicia and Ashley, I'll look at them and I'll be like, we have a look where it's like, oh, that was weird, right? And like you felt that and it confirms. And I feel like you're really good at that. Like the amount of times I've looked at you and been like,
did you feel that? Yeah. No, totally. And I think too, like I learned very early on, the first time I saw you when you were sad, I walked up to you to give you a hug. And I was like, you were like, I just don't, like, I don't need a hug. Like, I don't like being touched when I'm sad. So I think, too, that's something, it probably feels like I meet you where you're at, but that's because I studied you. And like, oh, okay, she does not like this. She does like this. Okay, when I said this, she liked that. So I know to approach her in this way. So I think that's part of it, too, where it always feels like I'm meeting you where you are is because, like, I watch to see
like
what
the
you
pattern,
need, you know?
Yeah, you know what's interesting about me? Fun
What?
fact about me.
Tell me.
Is that I am that annoying ass bitch that will literally be like, no, don't ask me, but I secretly want, like, I'm that.
Yeah.
And like you have that so figured out because I'm like, I can come off as like a hard ass that just like I don't give a fork all the time, which sometimes I really don't. Yeah. But some like a lot of times I really do. And like Tara knows that that bothered me. And she'll like
it's gonna
she'll
take
go
3
to
times.
the root.
Yeah.
She'll literally go to the root and like then we'll unpack it and then I feel so much better. But like that is so hard for me. I think it's because I grew up in a family that doesn't like when something goes wrong, it's just like tough love, like we'll deal with that later, or like it's not worth like being upset over. So I'm like used to shoving things under the rug or just never dealing with it. And you like have taught me to like, no, it's better to like just express whatever it is. Interesting. Anyway, so okay, let's talk a little bit about, for those of you that, or for the listener that doesn't understand our background and like how we live together and how, explain who you are and, you know, Ashley, your relationship, everything.
Okay. So me and Ash actually met, I don't even know how long ago. It's been like close to a decade ago.
Ashley is Alicia's sister.
Alicia's sister, And
Alicia's who I work for.
Yes. So I met Ash, then through her obviously living and being sisters with Alicia, we started to get closer. They moved out to LA.
And you knew them way before like any of us did.
Like Ashley didn't have a YouTube channel yet. Alicia
When was this? What year?
Oh gosh.
Maybe like 2015?
I would say like around there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then they moved out here, which is where you kind of came in. And then somewhere in between, like you starting to work with Alicia and getting closer with her, I moved out here. So then I think that's when we kind of started to become friends.
Taryn moved in the house with Ashley and Alicia.
Yes. And then you moved in during COVID, like when it was like first came around all crazy. And then you moved out I just moved out, but we're all still forever intertwined.
I feel like I will forever have a weird bond with all of you, just like the COVID quarantine bond, which I'm sure everyone can relate to. But like something about the other day, I went over to the house and like they asked me they were like, TK, like, want to come over and make a COVID meal? And I was like, yeah. And like I went, I know, and I went, and because we would have this like routine of like who would cook and who would do the dishes, and we like made it a thing. It felt like camp.
Was that when you made meatballs?
Yeah.
Okay, literally, I watched your stories and I was like, oh, because that was like, it was the meatballs, the carrot spirals, like that was like
the
one of the
spiral
main
era. Yeah. So anyway, we made one of those meals, and it was so fun, like literally reminiscing on what was such like a dark time.
I know,
but we really made light out of it.
No, we really did. Like finding our own routine, stepping in. What was crazy too is like, I feel like we each individually went through some type of trial.
Yeah.
And a lot of those trials, like, probably will never, nobody outside of that house will
see
ever
the light of day. Yeah.
Yeah. But being there, like, with each other and knowing, like, we could step in, we could escape to our rooms, we could be there for each other, we could distract, we could whatever.
Bonded for life.
It was so, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's also awesome, too, because, like, even though I feel like a lot of people don't see like you and my content or me and yours or whatever. Like I know at the end of the day, if shit hit the fan, literally anytime anything big happens, I like still tell Taryn.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's like you were like such a part of my life for a long period of time.
No, it is nuts. It's funny too. I think a lot of times people will ask, like I'll get DMs and they're like, do you still hang out with TK? Like, are you guys still friends? Even with Ash, I get that. Ashley and Alicia, they'll be like, do you guys, before I moved out, they were like, did you move out? And it's so weird. I don't know how to explain it other than like when you have certain bonds with people, and I think especially influencers go through this, like you have those people that you feel safe enough to just like unattached to your phones. You don't feel like you need to film. Like you just want to be present. And I feel like I have a lot of those relationships with you guys. So I'm like, yeah, like when I was living with them, I'm like, I'm with them every day. Like I'm on the other side of the camera while they're filming whatever. But I think sometimes people think in social media, they're like, well, if they're not in your content, you guys must not be friends. And it's not that. It just content takes place in very random times, you know?
What do you feel like we bonded over the most during COVID, or just like in general, like as people? Like I feel like we have our own special bond.
I think girls who grew up in sports family with only brothers, there is something that only we have inside of us. Yeah. So I think that
we're a different breed.
We are a different breed. I think that even if we can't like put a like name onto that, like there's that. But also I think I knew very early on, like we have very similar personality traits in regards to our sheer volume and like when we're excited and how we talk, like being on the dance floor, not caring, like always like down to do anything. And so I think we vibed on that. And I remember one night when we did TikToks.
That was like one of my most fun nights ever.
I was sweating profusely. Like we were FaceTiming people. We were just like, it was so much fun just like doing all those dances. Yeah. That should be your promo for this episode. Just like us doing a TikTok dance with like this audio.
Literally. I mean, we were thriving. And you know what? I think both the girls went to bed early or something, and we were up till like 3 a.m. Yeah. Making what we tried to make the house into a club. Yeah. But doing TikToks. Like we had the best time.
Fun. No, it was literally so fun. And I think that's why. I think we match each other's energies. Like even at Stagecoach this last time.
I had the best time with Taryn.
I had so much fun. And I think it's because, you know, when you're like in a crowd and you look across and you see someone that's matching your energy, you don't even have to know them and you're just like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like that's, I feel like we have that a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what's so funny is my brother, I did like a question sticker on my Instagram and my brother goes, ask her what her favorite Lil Baby song is.
I love your brother.
He was like, dude, him and Sapal were like, dude, we love Taryn.
I was because never in this group do we hang out with straight men.
I know. I brought them.
Yeah, literally, I came home. I'm not joking. I was talking to my brother. He's like, oh, how was Coachella? And I was like, there were guys there.
It was amazing.
And I thrive off of just like interacting with guys. Like that's.
It just brings a different dynamic.
Yeah.
It's less like
Yes,
it's a much needed dynamic.
Yeah, I had so much fun with them. And then there was like one point I was just making them listen to all my favorite Jack Harlow songs. And we were just like vibing in the kitchen. And I was a dude. Like I was there. I was like in that mentality. But yeah, so fun.
Even at Stagecoach, I feel like we had more like guys, different people around, and I felt like you were thriving too.
Yeah.
And it was so fun to, I don't know, it's just fun to get out of your comfort zone or like be around new people. And,
for sure.
Yeah, Phil loved hanging out with you, especially during
Phil.
Lil Baby at Coachella. What was he? Would you say he's similar to how I would describe? Because I feel like I would always talk about him and my family during COVID.
Yes.
And now you're like finally getting to meet them, kind of.
Yeah, I think right off the bat, the way you talked about Phil reminded me a lot of Ryan, my brother Ryan. And so when he's around, it's like I just feel connected to him because he does remind me of like Ryan and his friends.
They're just such
growing up.
dudes.
Yeah, just like you don't have to question any interaction. Like I feel like every time people ask me like what my type is, I'm always like, I just want like a dude,
like a guy's
just
guy.
like someone who I'm not like. Are we playing games or you're trying to like flex on me and because you think I want to hear what you're trying to say? Like just like no thought behind interaction. Like just talk about what you like. I talk about what I like. So I feel like I thrive with guys like that where I'm like, oh, you're just like genuine like dude. You know what I mean?
I feel like the guy you're talking about, like literally they're the type that if you say you're fine, they like believe it.
Yes.
And like I need that. Yes. I don't want him to overthink because I'm like I want to get out of my toxic habit of saying I'm fine when I'm not.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I want them to be like, okay, she's fine.
Yeah. Oh, literally, I've talked to my brother so many times about like if he gets in like a little fight with his girlfriend, I'll be like, well, what happened? And he tells me, and I'm like, bro,
you're like Ryan, she's not okay. Yeah.
Like, but that's what I love. That like I love like my ex used to be really weird about like. Let's not say I love you, so like it actually means something, and we can communicate in better words. I don't want that.
You want the yeses to mean yes, the no's to mean no.
Wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, Taryn. I feel like everyone and their mother wants to know because you radiate like you exude bad bitch confident energy, and I just want to know like what's your outlook on that?
So it's kind of funny because I actually just did my first solo pod, which you do solo pods.
Yeah.
How did you get over that?
Dude, it's so hard.
I am not an awkward person.
No,
well,
it's
okay. So
literally
because we're similar. I came in so
it's brutal.
Like I'm gonna be fine, and poor Michaela. Like right when I started talking, I was like, I'm so uncomfortable.
Okay, few things that I think that make it uncomfortable. One, did you have notes?
No.
Or an outline? Okay, definitely do that because it's literally needed. Second thing is I think what throws me off is the cameras being on. Like when I was at home in my bed with a mic, it was way different for me than like being in studio.
That's true.
And because our shows are on YouTube now, like obviously I'm going to be in here, like with the lights and cameras and whatever. But I think the outline is so needed and necessary because I feel like I overthink what I'm saying more when it's solo. I'm like, is this stupid?
Yeah.
And I like question myself and I'm looking at the time more. I don't know. I'm just very aware of things more, or I'm just questioning myself, and I hate that.
Well, I think you are like me in regards to like we feed off of people. So, if I say a statement and I see a reaction from someone, that's going to determine the next thing I say.
And it gets you fired up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was really hard is the awkward silent pauses between everything. But anyways, so that was I put up a question thing and I was like, hey, ask me whatever you want. And it's funny because I do think over the last few years, I've been tied to confidence. Like that's all people want to ask me about, and that's all people like comment on my stuff. And so I talk about it kind of in depth on that episode. But I think I shifted the way that I view confidence because I think I used to view confidence, say specifically like what I've been going through is confidence with my body, right? Because my body's changed a lot over the past couple years. And to me, at first, I was like, oh, well, I'll be confident if I can walk out of my house in shorts and a crop top with my arms out and like be in a bathing suit with all my friends. So confidence to me felt like a place that I was getting to. And like I wasn't confident until I could do that. Yes. And then
I used to think like that too.
Yes.
It's so toxic. Yeah.
But you can never reach it because even some of my friends who have like, I think you have a gorgeous, beautiful body.
Thank you.
You've even shared times where you felt weird in your skin. And me on this side, I'm looking at you going, what in the, what?
Yeah.
What are you looking at? You know?
Yeah. No, so, I get it.
So it's never something I think that you can reach, which when you set yourself up for failure, it's miserable.
Oh, yeah.
So I shifted to then thinking, okay, I think confidence is being very honest with where I'm at and what I feel, not being scared of it, not sugarcoating it, and not hiding it.
Wow.
So then it became, I'm very uncomfortable with the way that my body is, but I'm not going to not go to this place. I'm not going to not buy this outfit. I'm not going to shy away and like not tell my friends what I'm feeling. Like I'm going to own that this is where I'm at, but I'm not going to let it stop me from living my life and being happy. So once I detached those two things, it's this freedom came that like I had never experienced. Like all my life I've struggled with body stuff. So it's been nuts to see it change. And I think that people see that essence and they're like, why are you so confident? I want to be confident like you. And so I've been passionate about sharing that because I'm like, it's not, I think we have to change the way we view confidence, you know?
Totally. I think that was very well said. I can relate to a lot of what you said. What's so interesting about the word in itself is like in some scenarios, I'm thinking it as a body thing. And then in some scenarios, I'm like, no, you just run a room. Like, you know how to work a room. And I guess like, when you think confidence, do you immediately think body stuff, or are you thinking everything? Do you see it more as an umbrella? Because I'm like looking at you and I'm thinking like, how do you walk into all these like crazy influencer LA rooms and work it versus more so like rocking what you're wearing? Because I'm like, Taryn's always rocking what she's wearing. You know what I mean?
Thanks, girl. I think it really is just an overarching mindset of being unapologetically yourself and not being afraid of what people interpret that as. So if I come into a room, you know, I've gone to so many of these events. Now, part of it is I don't really know who any of them are, so I don't know that I should be nervous.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it.
That does help, genuinely.
Big part of it. But I think that I stopped going in trying to find my acceptance and self-worth in the way that other people are viewing me. And instead, I'm walking in with wearing my self-worth, and their acceptance is their choice and that's their right. And if they don't accept me, then I'm like, okay, bye. And I find someone who will. Like, it's not tied to the same thing.
Copy.
Whereas before it used to be I come in and then if you tell me I look pretty, then I'm like, oh, I look pretty.
Got it.
But now I'm coming in and I'm like, I'm hot and I don't care what anybody else thinks. So even if you look me up and down and I catch a weird vibe, I'm like, okay. Because I've already like set that for myself. So it's not as much of I'm not giving anyone else control to make me feel anything. Like that's what my job is to do before I even enter a room.
Okay.
Yeah.
2 questions. One, how do you have that though? Like how do you... Is this an internal thought? Is this just natural? Like, how do you muster up that courage and confidence? Because some people would be like, but how do you have... I don't understand. Like, how do I get to that point if they're not there?
So I would say one thing is you have to be willing to do the work. Like I think with anything, I think sometimes people are like, oh, I wish I was confident. And then they don't feel confident. So they get sad and that's it. Like, I think people think eventually, like, if I'm just like, no, I'm confident, it's going to happen. But it's a lot of work that goes into it. That can, start with getting to really know yourself, can start with the most tangible thing is self-talk. And I think that I've used this as an example on our podcast before, but if you look at body dysmorphia, right? When I was in my psychology classes, we had a guy who he wore beanies and sunglasses every day because his body dysmorphia was so extreme that when he would look at his reflection, he looked like a monster. Like he described the way he thought his face looked.
Wow.
And it was not even near what his face looked like. So he had like a really, really extreme case. So then when we're looking at his situation, the number one thing they would tell him to do is work on his self-talk. So he had to look in the mirror and he had to say a list of things over and over and over to himself because he's trying to reroute the path that his brain had made. So I think that's the thing is a lot of times the journey to with self-talk and getting confident feels stupid to people. They're like,
it feels silly.
Okay, you want me to stand in the mirror and be like, you're beautiful, even though I hate looking at myself? Well, yeah. And then I want you to say it 50 more times, even though you don't feel it. Like, high five yourself in the mirror. Like, do whatever you have to do because you're doing the work that's going to pay off in the long run. But people are like, that's like hippie stuff. Like, okay, I love myself. What does that mean? But it's valuable.
Well, sometimes the most simple things in the world are the hardest. Like saying I love you or I hate you or whatever. Anyway, but what would be an example if I was like, Taryn, I wish I was as confident as you are. I heard that I should do this thing called self-talk. What does that entail? Like, what should I say?
So I think I would first ask you what are the things and thoughts that like sting when they come into your mind, right?
So like someone could like think about that and then write them down maybe?
So because the thing is you don't want to just target, I want to feel confident. Like that's, that doesn't mean anything. Like that's like saying you love dairy, but it's like, well, okay, cheese or like milk, like what, you know what I mean? It's like, it's not, I think you have to hone in. So for me, a huge thing that I struggle with is one, fear of failure is like really a big hold I have. And then two, how people view my body because my body is something I feel insecure about. So once I hone in on those, then I start doing the work of thinking, okay, if I had a friend who was coming to me, how would I talk to them? Because that's the thing, we're not friends with ourselves. Like if you came to me and you said, hey, I feel like chunky, how would I respond to you? Would I be like, yeah, you are. You're disgusting. No one wants you.
You're so right.
No, I would sit there and I'd be like, first of all, I don't even view you in that way. I think you're beautiful. And I would do work to counterbalance what you're feeling. But with ourselves, what do? We're like, oh, you're down? You don't feel well? Okay, well, and you start like shanking the heck out of them. No, it's like we're not friends with ourselves.
That's so true.
So you have to be friends with yourself.
I would literally argue with my friend if they said that. You know what I mean? Or something self-destructive.
Furious. Or if someone talked to you in the way that you talk to yourself, you would automatically cut them out of your life because it's toxic. So it's like we have to learn how to view ourselves.
That's crazy.
Become friends with ourselves, fall in love with ourselves. And then the second that you walk in being in love with yourself and already demanding a certain standard, you're not going to accept anything else,
Wow. Light bulb went off. That's so true.
Your face, you're like.
No, seriously. I feel like they do always say, like, you are your own worst enemy. And that's so true. I'm like, I want to be my own best friend.
Yeah. But it feels stupid. It feels cheesy. But it's like you have to, like, yesterday I had been feeling like I just had a lot of negative thoughts going through my head. So I took myself out on an intentional day and I did a facial, I did a massage, I got my nails done. And yeah, like it's a lot of money, it's whatever things, but it was me making a sacrifice for myself and being like, no, like you're having a hard day. Like, let me like do something that makes you feel good. Like you have to take care of yourself,
So true. So getting more nitty gritty, the self-talk, you have to come up with the stuff that that stings, and then getting down to the nitty gritty. Does that mean like you wake up every morning, you look in the mirror and say it for 5 minutes? Like what are the rules, or what would you advise someone to do?
So I think for me, I stopped avoiding things. So one of the biggest things I struggled with is when I gained weight, I got stretch marks on my stomach, and I've never had that. Like pretty like gnarly ones, right? And I remember the first day I saw them, I freaked out. Like freaked out, was like sobbing hysterically. I wouldn't even look at myself in a mirror for a while. And so then instead of avoiding it and like making it this thing that like I refuse to like think about, and I'm trying my hardest to just pretend it's not there, I started to take time. I still do this to this day, where like I'll stand in front of the mirror and I'll look at my body. And it's funny because sometimes I'll just like laugh at myself because like the other day I like walked out of bed and I was just like, you know, the girls were just jangling, and I'm in these like high-waisted like granny panties, and I like look at myself and I was like, you look rough. Like, and I just like started laughing.
We've all been there, yep.
And then like I'll put music on and I'll dance, and I'll be intentional of being like, no, like I am a sexy human being, and anyone would be lucky to get a piece of this juicy body. And it's like I stopped like being afraid of it. Or like when I was in the shower, like if I was washing my stomach, I would take a moment to be like, I'm really thankful for you. Like, I'm thankful for what you do for me. I'm thankful that when I started gaining weight, you just didn't explode and my insides came out. Like, I'm thankful you stretched. And that's why I have these stretch marks. Like, it's just like being intentional with the way that you think.
This is kind of a weird analogy, but it kind of reminds me of like when you're watching a scary movie and you hear all the like sound in a scary movie is the most important thing, right? And it's so scary and it's so freaking scary and you don't know what it is and the monster's at the end of the tunnel and you're getting there and you're like on the last episode of Stranger Things and you're getting there and you're getting there and then you see the scary thing and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the anticipation.
Yeah. It's like when you look at it, it's not even that big. Or when you get to the thing that's so scary in your head or you've built up, it's actually not that as scary as you would think.
Oh, fully. Or things like you're embarrassed about. And then you finally say it to someone.
And they're like, that's not a big deal.
Like the second it comes out of your mouth, you're like, oh. Yeah. Like, but it's what I think, like, I think there are... Like, obviously, like, I believe in God. I'm a Christian. And so I think that there are forces that take a hold of thoughts and they wrap them in your mind. And so for me, when I choose to be like, no, I'm not going to let that take place, and I choose to say those things out loud, and I choose to share it with people I love, so that now I'm not the only one supporting this fear. Like, I have friends that are supporting it with me and pouring into me when I need them. I think it's just being like super intentional with everything you do.
Wow, I think that's so good. I'm like literally learning so much right now. Is there anything from like a friend's perspective? I feel like there's been times where like I know my friends are down bad or I'm down bad, and I feel like when I'm down bad, it's a lot of me, or it's annoying because I'm like, oh, I have these expectations for my friends, but also like I shouldn't. Yeah. Because, I don't know, I feel like I empathize with myself and others that deal with people that are going through highs and lows of life. My question for you is, what advice would you have for a friend of someone that maybe their friend's going through something, or their sibling or their family member or whoever's going through something? How can you be there as a support system for someone that's not going through the best time in their life?
Thing. Yeah. You know, it's a hard thing because everybody handles stuff differently.
Yeah. It really is true.
Yeah. I think that for me, I told friends.
You analyze people for like a month and then you decide.
Yeah, that's very true. I think there was a point where if I felt myself being affected by the way friends were treating me, that's not their job to figure it out, because they don't know that they're doing something that's triggering me.
Wow, that's so true.
So if I don't like it, if it's affecting me and I don't say anything, like, whose fault is that? Mine, you know? So like with Ash, there was a point where I was like, hey, sometimes I need to say something and I just need you to say, I'm so sorry that sucks, and not try to fix it. Because right now I'm so emotionally raw that I just need somewhere to be there in the moment.
A soundboard.
Yeah. Or, you know, like sometimes, like, say for instance, going back to like the whole body issue, if I tell someone like, hey, like I'm not feeling confident in my body, there are going to be times where it would be really helpful for the other person to just gas me up.
Yeah.
And there's other times I just want you to sit there and talk with me about it. Like, I don't want you to tell me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
You're so skinny. I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, and that's not what I'm trying to be. Like, so it just depends on where you're at. But if you don't share with people what you need, then like they can't help you, which is why something I've done is when someone shares something with me, I'll ask them, I'll be like, what do you want from me right now?
That's good.
Do you want me to like give my honest opinion?
Yeah. Or
do you
gas
want
you
me to
up or
like,
whatever. Yeah.
like what do you want from me right now?
I love that. I'm going to start doing that.
And that helps me with, because sometimes people are like, you know, they'll share about a guy. And I'm like, can I say what I really think of him? Do you not want to hear that? Like, what do you want?
Yeah,
and,
you're good at that.
Yeah. And then that's like where I'll step in, because it's not about me in that moment. It's about them, you know? But it's hard. Like it's hard to know when you're going through something, what's going to trigger you. In fact, I just shared in that episode I was talking about. Do you remember at Coachella, we were at that Neon Carnival and that girl came up? We were in front of the Ferris wheel and that girl came up and was like,
yes, oh my God.
Finally another thick girl.
Yes, I remember. Oh my God, I was so uncomfortable.
Yes. So I was talking about that.
Oh my God, I was so uncomfortable.
Yes.
You didn't, Phil and me and Sabal were like
so awkward.
And you were like.
So if you did it,
Okay,
basically what happened, this girl came up to me and was like, finally another thick girl.
Which
if I saw another skinny girl, I would like throw up, whatever. Which like everyone's standing there and she's just like over the top drunkenly talking about my body. And like then she went into, look at those thick thighs, look at that, like your boobs, like look at all, and I'm literally standing there just like,
me and Taryn and Phil was happening too. It wasn't even just us. It was, they were like, can we just talk about how well they handled that?
No one said anything.
Yeah,
it
we
was
were all
just
like,
quiet.
First of all, I just have to jump in because I'm sure this girl didn't have malintent. No. Right?
No.
But that is something to consider, especially when you're drunk. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, well, and that's exactly there. Like maybe on some days where I'm feeling like I'm embracing that side of me, I might respond different. That day, I was very triggered by that. Like, very triggered by that. Because then
I was triggered.
Yeah, because she was like going at you too, like, no offense, but you skinny blonde girls. I was like,
no, but I was more triggered for you because I was like, this is, it's weird and uncomfortable, especially because we don't know you. And I know that she feels like she knows you. Yeah. But Taryn doesn't know you. Yeah. And I feel weird because I want to stand up for you right now, but that's not going to help anything either.
No. So this is what I would say. That is something I've noticed since I've been in the category of being bigger and struggling with being curvier.
And vocal, I feel like, just on your socials about it.
People do not know how to react when curvier people talk about being curvier. And I think it's because everyone is so scared to offend or to do anything. Like the other day, I made a joke about like being like, oh, yeah, right, like my big butt could fit in that or something. And I felt the friend I was with got kind of awkward and immediately was like, oh, no, like, what are you talking about? Like, you'll be fine. Or they'll be like, oh, the seats are, like, they're big enough. Like, or they get awkward. Where I'm like, no, just joke with me. Like, if I'm joking about it. But it's this big, like, weird thing where that was part of it in that moment was like, oh, my God. Like, you probably were like, is this, like, hurting her feelings? Like, is she offended? Because I'm offended for her. I
honestly remember being like, okay, I'm about to go either direction based on how Taryn reacts. Yeah. Which I knew we were going to be polite and do whatever anyway. Yeah. But I was like, based on how Taryn reacts, because I'm going to let her react first, I'm going to jump on that because I didn't know whether it was offending you, whether you loved it. Like, because I could see it going both ways. Even someone coming up to me and saying anything about my body as well, or the way I look.
With a group of people just staring at you.
Yeah, especially like my little brother. Like if they were like, damn, that fat ass gets that dick. If my brother was there, I'd be like, right? Like that's weird. It's weird, right? Especially because they feel like they know you and you don't. So I was ready to swing either way based on your reaction. But I remember being on edge, being like, I don't know how to react. I hope Phil and Sabal don't say anything bad either.
Yeah.
So we're just going to stand here and wait to see how Taryn leads
and
this.
I totally appreciate that. And I think that's something I would say to people like who are friends with curvier people. Like, not in that situation, because honestly, it would have made it so much worse.
Well, that was weird.
You handled that well. We're talking about just other than that.
But I was just like,
well, even I was like, thanks. Yeah, I know, right? Thank you.
And I was like, Taryn, like, we got to go over here. Yeah, I think we just like, that was weird.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah. It was, I did not like that whatsoever. But I think like on the outside of it, I think sometimes like we have to not treat people who are going through things like glass in ways where like we don't just talk to them. Like, I think you can be careful with people, but I think too, just stepping in and being like, hey, like, are you like, was that weird? Are you okay? Like, or hey, how would you like me to react and things like that, I think is helpful too. Because I think we just shy away from like, oh, you're going through something, I don't know what to say. But I think still being present is valuable, you know?
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but with you, I feel like, because you joke all the time, if you are in a joking mood, to be self-aware enough to realize, oh, she's throwing in a joke.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to jump in and be on the joking train? Not like rude, but like be like, yeah, girl, my bad ass can't fit in there. Like, is that something okay? Or is that something like...
Yeah, and I think too, like it has to do with the specific people, but I
think it's the relationship, maybe?
Yeah, and I think for me, like if I'm offering out something, then obviously like I'm wanting to interact. But nothing makes me more uncomfortable than when I say something about myself and then everyone just gets quiet.
You can feel the energy in the room.
Because then I'm like, okay, wait, what? Like, so are they thinking like, ooh, that's embarrassing? And then I start to spiral because I'm like, okay, why was that weird? You know what I mean?
And as anyone would spiral if they said anything and then the room got silent.
So I think it's what you offer up, and I think that's why people need to be careful. Like I knew when I started talking about this topic on social media, I was opening people's opinions up on myself. And I was very intentional about if I was going to do this. In fact, when I first posted my video about
which, by the way, I have to interject, everyone go watch her YouTube channel, especially if any of the stuff resonates with you. It's so good.
Thank you. I pushed post, and then I walked into the room where Alicia and Ashley were, and I started just violently crying because I was so scared of opening up something that was so vulnerable to the internet, which the internet is full of just mean, horrible, awful people, you know? So it was really scary, but I think that was the choice that I made, and I think that comes with anything. Like if you're going to throw a joke, don't throw a joke because you're looking for people to say the opposite. Yeah. Because then if they don't, like you're opening yourself up to get something hurt. Whereas if I'm going to say a joke about my body, it's because like I'm just enjoying and laughing at my own thing. So I think you have to be careful what you put out there. But when people put out stuff, like you still can interact. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
Well, that just goes back, like circling back to when a girl is like, I'm fine. And then they expect a guy. It's like, I don't know. Sometimes life is so simple. And when you put out something, you should expect to get that in return, I guess.
I fully agree.
Which is, I'm glad that when you say something, you mean it behind it. Because it's really hard to deal with people that don't. Yeah. And then you're like, wait, what?
What do I say? What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I have a random question. And I actually saw it today. Have you ever seen the game We're Not Really Strangers?
Yes.
Have you ever played it?
Yes.
Okay. I fucking love it. So I was going through all the cards today, and one of the cards literally sat in it with myself, and I had to think about it. And it was, what is something you wish you got complimented on more about yourself? And I'm like still right now like thinking about what it would be. Do you know what it would be for you?
Like I wish people were able to like see and compliment like my body for like what I know it is, and I know it's like beautiful. So that is one thing, but also I think because I am a person who sacrifices a lot for people, and I think because people are used to that.
You're such a helper.
I don't think that people really acknowledge it as much. And sometimes I don't think people know how much thought and effort goes into even little things I do for people. And so it kind of becomes like a thing where it'll make me sad sometimes because I'm like, do they know like that was like because I love them versus like it's just expected because that's how I always am.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, I so resonate with that.
Yeah.
I'm the same in the sense that I am always the like cheerleader. I'm always the like let's fucking go, like gassing people up. Like when they walk into a room, I'm there to light it up, like whatever the situation is. And just because I am naturally like that doesn't mean I don't want to feel appreciated for that energy as well, because I don't fucking have to do that.
Yep.
And I so resonate. And it's weird how you would think that me asking you this question, the thing you want to be complimented on more wouldn't be like the most obvious.
Yeah.
But it is.
Yeah.
It's always like the most obvious.
It's always that. I think the thing, whatever you put like your heart and your thoughts into is the thing you're most sensitive about protecting. And so I think what I said about like helping and you about like encouraging and like being there for people, that's the main way we show that we love.
Like sometimes I need a cheerleader.
Yeah. And so when people don't do it back or, you know, or like I'll be doing stuff for someone all day, maybe get like a thank you. Not that that's what I do it for, but I think that's my way of measuring that they understand that I'm trying to like love on them.
You still want them to feel, if you're putting in that much effort, you still want them to feel appreciated or them to appreciate that you did that.
But I'll like do that, right? And then like someone will be like, hey, like I got a chocolate and I brought you an extra one. And it's like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, what? Like I've been trying so hard all day.
The house down boots.
And so, and then, it's kind of like I feel like it sounds selfish, which is why we probably never share that. We're like,
totally.
I wish like someone would like appreciate me in this way.
Well, it sounds silly and stupid.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably mine.
I even think about this all the time. I have this friend, she's like always looking so hot. And I feel like she's just constantly trying to prove that like she can provide more value than like looking hot. Because the compliments she gets all the time is like, oh my God, you look so hot today. And it's like, she's like, thanks. You know what I mean? Whereas like for once in her life, she wants to just be appreciated for the actual like work she's doing or the, you know, like time and effort she's putting in the friendship or whatever. So like, I feel like I'm hyper aware of that because like she lights up when I say stuff like, hey, by the way, that work you did on this was really good or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's just, it is weird. It's such a weird concept because you think it'd be so obvious or like you think she would love being like, oh my gosh, you look so beautiful. Oh, your hair or whatever. Yeah. And like sometimes I just want to be told like, I guess that I value this about you.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe.
Like, hey, thanks so much for like stepping in and like making sure everyone was comfortable. Yeah. Like, I loved your energy today. Thank you. And like gassing you up in the way you gas other people up. I mean, you constantly are like, oh, I love this, like complimenting. And I think it's your way of like making people feel like comfortable and welcome. Yeah. And so I'm sure that can be hard when sometimes like if you walk in and people are just like, hey, and you're like, oh, like, you know, like I want people to be pumped and excited for me too, like the way that I get pumped and excited for them. So yeah, it's like a two-edged sword for sure.
It is. Okay, I want to answer a few questions that the audience has sent in. Well, to answer Phil's question, what's your favorite Lil Baby song?
Okay, so obviously like Drip Too Hard when it like the part where it's like da, 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 off this way. Oh my gosh. When I'm in my car I'm always like that one, but also Post Malone's On the Road song. He's on that. And I love that song.
You know what was my favorite part specifically about Lil Baby's set at Coachella is I was like sitting, I think with like boys or something. And like you and Phil and Sapal were the only people standing. And then I would hear like drip drip and I would jump out and be like, bye guys, go dance with you guys and then run back to where I was.
No, that happened so many times where like all of a sudden you would just appear and be like so hype. And then like the next second I'd turn and you would just be gone.
Y'all were the only ones dancing. And like
I didn't even know half the songs. But,
so
like,
funny.
They were so pumped. Your brother and Sapal were so pumped that I was pumped, you know?
No, they like were like, Taryn's so cool.
I love them. Tell them to come back.
Hilarious. Okay. What is something the other is holding themselves back from to find love? That's so deep.
Oh, like me answer for you and you answer for me? Oh, okay.
They said real talk. what is something that others holding themselves back from to find love? I think I know it for you.
I think I know it for you.
Do you want me to say yours and you can think?
You say mine first.
Okay. I think for Taryn, it's as simple as I don't think you put yourself out there enough. Like, and same with myself, but like, I think you really, like, dating, you have to view it as like a muscle you have to train. And it's something that, I mean, we saw how many dates Ashley went on. Like, literally, this bitch went on so many dates.
So many dates.
And I think, like, dating, not only, like, you have to look at it not as much as, like, a big end goal thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of those things where you have to go and at the end of the day, if you find out something new about yourself, great. If you get a great new restaurant recommendation or whatever, like, I think you just have to be more like, I don't care about it. Because I think you're like, I got to find the one, which we all are. But I think if you just like rip the Band-Aid off and just start committing, like making it a part of your routine, like every Tuesday is my date night day. And every week I just have to go and like, I don't know. I think just put yourself out there more. You'd be really surprised. One, how much you'd learn about yourself, and two, how much would come to fruition.
Yeah, I definitely, I think dating apps are hard for me because
they're so hard for everyone.
I'm a connection person.
Same.
So I have a hard time vibing off that. But then, I don't put myself out just in public in general to like meet people. Okay, I don't think that you're doing anything that's like keeping you from love. I think that you genuinely just aren't really at a place where that is something that like you want to jump into.
Yeah, true.
And I think the things that you are vibing with in guys right now is, I don't think that's the same as like the person you're actually going to end up with.
Absolutely. Okay.
So I think that you are still forming what you want long term versus like what's fun and in the right now. But I think that's fine because you are in the fun and right now stage. Like you're not trying to get married this year.
No.
You know what I mean?
Oh my God, no.
So I think that you're in a healthy place because you're just like having fun and vibing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of having fun, this question is, talk about hooking up with friends.
Ooh.
Or topic, I guess.
Spicy.
What are your thoughts on this? I feel like Taryn is like always... You're always down to talk boy with me. And I feel like I bring most of the boy drama to our friend group and house. So, like, I feel like you know me and my, like, my situation and, like, what it's like for me.
Yeah.
Having fun and whatever. And, what are your thoughts on that? I guess you can use me as an example.
Okay. My thoughts on it are, as long as you know going in.
Yeah.
What your motivation is, and there's a possibility of it being crazy.
I just saw that song. It's like, baby cannot be motivation by Kelly Rowland.
But exactly. Like, if you both are on the same page, you want to have fun and whatever, I'm all for it. Like, I think those flings are the most fun because they're the most, like, not everyone knows about it. Like, is it going to happen? Like, is it not? It's like, whatever.
Wait, but I feel like that's contradicting what you're saying. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. That's the most fun.
No,
but then
you're like, that's what's fun about it.
Oh, okay. But
I think going into it, like, because the let's be real, it's the build up to it.
Oh, that's
is what's fun.
Yeah.
But then once it actually happens, then it's
you're like, oh shit.
How do we act again? Like, is this serious? Like, what do we, you know what I mean? So I think as long as you're both super communicative, that you're talking about like what you both want and you respect each other. And if it's a friend, that you act like a friend. That's the thing. I think guys sometimes when they hook up with friends, they start acting like fools and you're like, hi, remember how we were friends? Like, how about you still treat me with the same decency as being my friend?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, why are you being weird and rude? Like, you never were weird and rude before. So, like, don't overthink it. Like, be my friend. And then if more happens, like, let's have fun with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. I feel like girls are better at, like, playing it cool afterwards, at least when they're around others, versus, like, guys, like, they, like, don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because guys are so, like, sexual driven. Like, they're so driven by their, like, dick. Yeah. That they're, like, I don't know. I feel like maybe it just... I don't know.
I think, too, guys have experienced how intense girls can be and how everything has a meaning, even if they didn't mean it to be, which a lot of women are like that.
Yeah.
And so I think they automatically are like, oh, crap, like, what's the expectation now? And they get awkward, so then they just bounce. Versus, like, how about you actually just talk to me? Like, and be like, hey, is everything cool? Like, last night was crazy. Like, how do you feel? Like, are we cool? What's the boundaries? Like, where are we going from now? Do you want it to happen again? Like, just talk about it. But I think guys get scared that girls are going to be like, good morning. Like, let's get married, want to have my children. And it's like, no, girls can also just want to have fun too.
Yeah.
You know?
It definitely is a dance. I think the main thing is that you have to come to terms with is that if you decide to hook up, or if you do hook up and you didn't mean to or whatever, it inevitably, no matter what, is going to be different.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's going to be more romantic. It doesn't mean it's going to be more awkward. It doesn't mean it's going to be a certain whatever. It's just going to be different.
Yeah.
Because, like, duh, like, something big happened.
Yeah. And I think, too, I think the guys always think, like, oh, that was weird. She's so into me. And a lot of times it's not the case.
No.
It's not the case.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I think a lot of guys, their egos would be bruised because they think they just disappeared and made the choice when the girl's sitting there going, thank God. Like, so it's just interesting because I think it's a really weird dynamic with a lot of like factors, which is why I think you have to really think going in like, is this worth it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
But if you do, then like you just got to roll with it.
Yeah. I think I struggle with that because I'm like, oh, is this worth it? I really do try and think about that. But also I'm like, have fun, be stupid, and like regret it one day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I think that's part of life, like, is to just learn from your mistakes or whatever.
No, for sure.
Just, this is a selfish question. What do you think about my track record with men?
You know what? It's funny because I don't know if this is even something like you're aware of.
Oh, God.
I think that what you project is completely different than actually who you are. Like
to men?
To just in general. Like I think that you project that you're in this like you're like crazy, I want all this stuff, like it's crazy, it's like so fun. But you at the center, and this is just you in general. Like I'm a hard person. Like I don't care. Like I don't give a fork. But you are like you have this softest like jelly side inside of you.
I know.
And so it's funny. I don't know if you remember this. There was this one time when we were still getting to know each other. You were like walking around the house making comments about like you wanted a guy and like all this stuff. And I remember asking you, I was like, can I ask you a question? Like, do you hook up with a lot of guys? And then you were like, well, and it was like, it was guys that had meaning to you.
I'm very, very like particular.
Like, I think you're boy crazy, but not a lot actually get through.
Yeah. I definitely hold like a certain standard to like who I let get past like the gate, I guess.
Exactly. So it's funny because I think like on the outside sometimes like
I have a lot of crushes, I guess.
Yes. But and I think people a lot of times will just assume something about people if they talk about guys a lot or whatever. But I think that you only seem to go after guys that you have like an emotional connection with, whether it's a friend, whether it's a guy that you just vibed with. Yeah. So it's interesting.
Like I have to care about them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I think is a beautiful thing.
But they don't know that I care.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
But also there's different forms of caring.
Yes.
Like, and sometimes I think that's why friends, stuff like that happens is because you genuinely love them and care about them as a friend. So then the lines get blurry. But yeah, I don't know.
I feel like I don't find someone that attractive unless I like care about them.
Yeah, they have to make you laugh.
Like it turns me on so much more, or like I think they're so much more hot if I actually care about them.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's just a female thing.
I think it's a female thing, but I also think it comes in different like stages of life.
Wait, so what do you think about my type of or my track record with men?
I think you're fine.
Yeah.
I think you're fine. I think you have some of what all of us have where we look back and you're like, like should I have done that? But then it's very quick to be like, nah, it was fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I don't think there's nothing in what you've told me where I've been like, oh my gosh, but also because I know the whole story.
Yeah.
I'm sure other people could look surface and be like, what?
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Taryn, like, I feel like you know, like, a lot of my boy drama, but you, like listening to it. A lot of my
boy
friends
drama.
don't.
I love boy drama.
What is something you guys are super similar with and super different with? I feel like the super different thing is, like, you're into, like, the Lego Star Wars shit.
Yeah.
Same with Disney. Couldn't be me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I definitely have a nerdier side than you. I would say the line, I think, is we have very different interests.
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like we do have a lot of similar interests that even the girls don't resonate with, like the sports.
But that's more of like, I feel like we have very similar personalities, but we have different interests.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Like you love social media and like breaking down, which I could not dread anything more.
That's so true.
And then I like work with kids and you're like, what? Like,
yeah.
I think our worlds are very different, but our personality and upbringing is very same. So we have like that stuff in common.
I feel like we bring very similar energy to our lives.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah.
What is a trait you love about each other that you wish you were better at yourself? I feel like I know mine. I love how you're so I feel like I'm intuitive, but like I love how you actually deal with that, and like you go to the person, you like see, you break down what's going on, or like I feel like you understand there's a deeper issue and you go to the deeper place. I like understand that there's a deeper issue and I don't go there, and I want to get to the point where I'm like, self-aware isn't the word. What is it? Like strong, mentally tough enough to like deal with emotions in that way. Yeah. Like I feel like you're so mentally tough in that department.
Thank you.
That scares the fork out of me.
Yeah. I've always admired about you that you might be afraid of failure, but I haven't seen that side of you. I think you are a person who, when you're passionate about something, you're gonna make it happen, even if you're like freaking crawling on the floor by the time you get there. Like you attack things with this ferocity of like, there is no other option. Like I want to get here and I'm gonna get here. And it's crazy watching your life from like knowing you when you just were graduating and still kind of figuring things out to now watching you just like kill everything you do. And it's fun being like on the outskirts of it.
Thank you.
And being like, dang, like I need to freaking like do stuff, because I get so wrapped up in being scared of failing, so I just won't. But you're like, what do you mean failing? Like, no, I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
Like I will get myself in there. And I love that about you.
That's so funny. Thank you very, very much. What's your love language?
Physical touch and words of affirmation.
Wow. I feel like that's kind of the same for me. With like,
but then you don't like being touched when you're sad. Is it only when you're sad?
Okay, here's the thing. I like being touched by like hot big men.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So you're
like,
that's your romantic.
I don't want girls touching, like my girlfriends touching me.
Your romantic love language is physical touch, whereas friendship love language would be something different.
Also romantic, across the board, words of affirmation.
Yeah.
I'm like, tell me that I'm cute, tell me I'm awesome, tell me I'm smart, like tell me all the things.
Yeah.
But when I'm like upset or sad, the last thing I want is one of my girlfriends or someone I don't really know to come up and hug me. That makes me want to die.
How do you? So, because Alicia's like, she loves snuggling. Do you just like push her off?
Get your forking hands off of me now.
Yeah.
Same with Ollie. I'm like, and it makes me uncomfortable when they're physical touching. I'm like, y'all are weird. Me and Remy are like, couldn't be us.
They are in like a love relationship.
Weird. Yeah. And I'm like, I tell them that. I'm like, y'all are weird. Get away from me. They're like, hee. And Remy and I are like, couldn't be me. You know what the funniest thing was we went to Coachella weekend too. And we had like one of those rooms where it was like attached through.
Yes.
Like, so they had a bedroom, we had a bedroom, but it was attached, right? And they were like so excited. Typically, I would sleep with Alicia and Ollie would sleep with Remy just because I feel like that's how we typically do it.
Yeah.
But I literally was like, you guys can sleep together because I do not want to be anywhere near some cuddling thing.
Yeah.
And then Remy and I, it was hilarious. We like realized as we're going to bed, like I was on the edge. Like we were in a king size bed. Couldn't be further across from each other. And we just were like talking and we were like not us being literally so far apart.
Yeah.
And we're like, do you guys actually cuddle? They're like, yeah. Weird.
No, I can't. See, I relate to that is too much for me. Like, if I don't want to be touched, I don't want to be touched. But I'm definitely like a hugger, or if I'm sad and you put your hand on me, like that kind of touch. I'm not a like cuddle on the couch, fall asleep holding each, like that's okay. That's not it, unless it's a guy.
Alicia and Ollie are both so physical touch.
Yeah.
I will say when I'm in conversation, I'll go like that to someone's shoulder. Like that doesn't bother me. And I do that a lot because I don't know, I feel like it adds to the conversation. It's just natural for me. But like I'm also particular about who I do it with.
Also, there's a difference between like a touch and a like lingering touch.
Yeah.
The lingering like is aggressive.
Scratch. I'm like, oh, the EBGBs. Oh. The one person that doesn't bother me when they physically touch me, that's a girl, is Ashley. I don't know why.
But I think that's because she's not a mushy person.
Yeah.
So when she's touching you, she's not going to be like, oh, my love. It's not like
it's not
mushy.
Weird, I guess.
It's just like, yeah.
Also, I'm like, Alicia, like, don't touch me. You're my boss. Like, this is weird.
I'm going to tell HR.
You know what I mean? yeah, literally. But like, also if I was like down bad crying, like, and you hugged me, I would probably feel comfort from it. Yeah. But like, I don't know, when it's just like random, I'm like, why are we touching?
Yeah, I like asking her. I'm like, can I hug you?
Yeah, and I'll be like, yeah, or no. No, get the fork away.
When you say no, I'm not offended. I'm like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
Before I was like, what?
Anyway, okay, to wrap up this podcast, what are you doing to make moves right now, Taryn? Personally, professionally, whatever it is.
I think what I am doing currently is I think I'm really tackling the fear of failure, like in everything I do. So I think that I haven't really seen. I haven't gotten to like the goals of like what I'm doing. I'm more focusing in everything. All of my energy and attention is on my like mental and emotional health because I'm doing that in prep to like attack.
Wow.
So I'm kind of we're game plan, like we're in practice, we're in Hell Week, and then like I'm about to enter my season, you know?
Love that.
Yeah.
I just have to say, you need to make every day those cooking TikToks with the hash brown and the
one I did this morning.
I loved it.
Really?
Genuinely, I was like, oh, who's TikTok? And then I was like, holy shit, this is Taryn.
Thanks.
So you should do like, I feel like it doesn't even have to be cooking, like ASMR stuff like that. It's really good.
I think I haven't found my it yet. So it's hard for me to just throw up stuff if I don't have like an oomph behind it of like, oh, I loved that. Yeah. Today was really fun and it was like easy, but thanks.
Also,
that means a lot.
I have to tell myself this, hardly anyone's found their thing.
Yeah.
Like Alicia would be like,
true.
I don't know what my thing on TikTok is. You know what I mean?
That's true.
So just like throw it up.
Love that. Thanks,
anyway,
DK.
Thanks so much for coming on the pod.
Thanks
this
for
was great.
Me.
It's
this
so
fun.
Where can everyone follow you, subscribe to your podcast, everything like that?
Mm-hmm. So all my individual stuff is Taryn Renee, Taryne, Renee. And then our podcast is Unsolicited Advice. So check it out.
So everyone go follow her at Karen Renee.
Shut up. Get out.
I'm kidding. Taryn Renee. And subscribe to Unsolicited Advice. Slide into our DMs if you're a hot guy.
Yes, please. I'm taking applications.
Yeah, exactly. I'm forcing her to go on the date. Yeah. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode and make someone's day this week. Peace.
Bye.